everyone. Welcome to At Home with Sally. I'm Sally Clarkson, and I have the biggest privilege in the world to be with so many friends from all over the world who join me every week to listen to my stories, inspiration, biblical encouragement, and I am just so glad that you're here today. Thanks so much for joining me. Hello, my friends. It's Sally Clarkson, and welcome to another Tea Time Tuesday. Life with Sally, or At Home with Sally, I should say. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to be with you today. And these, for me, the weeks, even though they're really slow right now in the sense that there's hardly anyone in Oxford, and today was a bank holiday. They have those on Mondays, which means no one is here and everything's closed down. But in general, I've had so many people in my life and things to do that these days are absolutely just flying by. For those of you who are new to me today, this is just after New Year's Eve, and I'm living in Oxford, UK, England, and I have the funnest little house. And I just wanted to describe just the tiniest little bit about where I live and why I love Oxford. But first, I want to start out this podcast today telling you a little bit about the picture that you're seeing and also about such a wonderful time. You know, I just think it's so much fun for me right now where I am in life. Excuse me while I grab my papers. I have a few notes here and there. But it's so much fun when you make it through. And you know, none of our children make it through perfectly, and neither do we. Don't condemn yourself. Life is full of challenges, but I think that mothers who are civilizers, who are lovers, who are virtuous and strong, and you become stronger if you last long enough, truly, truly are the heart and the soul of every culture, of every civilization, because we have a special capacity to give life to human beings and then to cultivate and nurture that life so that human beings can flourish, so that our children, our friends, our families can flourish because of the life that we make. So it's pretty messy, but it really matters. So all that to say, it is really fun for me right now to be a mom of grown-up boys who are men. My boys are some of the best friends that I have in the whole wide world. And so the other day, my sweet, wonderful Joel is my Renaissance man. He's kind of an artist premier in that he does music, he does photography, he draws, he paints, he writes fiction. He's the voice of the Green Ember. He's kind of a multifaceted man. But it's so much fun. On the other day, on New Year's Day, Joel and I were talking, and he said, "Mom, how about if I treat you to a cup of coffee at one of our favorite places?" And he is my 6'5", tall, handsome gentleman. It's so much fun to be with him. And when I go with him, I literally feel so taken care of. That's not the case with every single person I'm ever with. But we went to our favorite little close place because, as usual, we are on foot. And there are two little leather chairs. I mean, little by there. They aren't big leather chairs. They're kind of small, but they're like overstuffed small leather chairs with two little pillows in them, right next to the window, which is a corner window on one of our favorite streets. And we can hide away there because there's no tables next to it. And that's where we have sat many times together. And it was so sweet to me, just that he knows the coffee that I want. He said, "Do you want your normal coffee with just a wee bit of sugar?" That's his Scottish coming out in him. And we never have long enough. We sat there together as friends, and I always, always, always feel encouraged after I have been with Joel, and actually after I've been with Nathan. They love me. They put up with me. They have forgiven me for all of my flaws. They are both vibrant. They're growing. And Joel and I had the most wonderful conversation. And he gave me some really good input about some of the things going on in my own life. And so that is the context of the picture that you see there. Because as we were sitting there, he said to me, Mom, the light from the sun is coming down in your face and in your hair in such an amazing way. And he said, can I just take a picture of you? Well, of course he can. And so that's the picture that you see today, because Joel is a photographer and he has an eye for photography. And so it was just so fun that he cared to do that. It was really a grand time. But I think that in order to form this kind of grace, my friends, and maybe today, I hope you will be drinking your own cup of tea or coffee or flat white, and that you can sit and that you can ponder some of the stories I'm telling you and some of the things I'm talking about. Because when we live a life of grace, we can be very busy. I am a pretty, I don't know what you would call it. I accomplish a lot because I've been doing this for so long. I can whip up a dinner for our family of 6 to 10, depending on who's in town. I can run through the house, throw something in the wash. Aren't we women of large capacity? The longer we go, I can work on my podcast and my blog posts. But it's so important as I look back that in the midst of my busy life that I had with my children and educating them and so on, that even then I made time, whatever you do, to make time for relationships, to document it, to say, I am so grateful that I get to be with you today. How are you? And you look eyeball to eyeball and you sip your whatever it is. And this is how, one of the ways that my boys became my best friends. And I just love it that I get to go out with them. So I thought it would be really fun just to tell you that little story, because you probably have these, some of you, many of you have these young men and women in your home, and kids and of both sexes. But when you take time over a long period of time, regular time, rhythmic time, to look into their eyes, to not even peek at your phone, except unless you have to once in a while, and to say, tell me what's on your mind today. How has this week been for you? Oh, I like that color of shirt that you got. Oh my goodness, you are so smart. I wanted to ask you a question. We in the Girls Club book that Sarah and Joy and I wrote, we talk a lot about what are the kinds of things that people need in order to feel close and in order to create intimacy with those that we really love and want to connect with. And so I just encourage you this week to think about maybe your future young men or women in your home and have a cup of tea or coffee or hot chocolate or whatever you want with them, and make space to encourage. Don't get in an argument. Leave them with refreshment of the air of your love, and you will be rewarded in full someday. Anyway, I wanted to tell you just a little bit about Oxford. I don't know if you enjoy that or not, but I have this habit. I'm healing from my hip surgery, not quite back to normal yet, but I'm walking a lot. It's just that I have some back and hip issues a little bit here and there, and I have to walk a certain way. I look at other people and I think they're not even thinking about walking. But anyway, I go on a longer walk in the mornings. I'm trying to my doctor said, walk and stretch those apparatus pieces that are in your leg and the muscles around them. So I go on a pretty long walk in the mornings, and walking has been my salvation. I really do think that I am probably ADD and have always been. And I was always wiggling from the time I was a little girl. And my mom used to put her hand on my knee during church and kind of look at me like, can you just stop shaking the whole bench? But anyway, walking is such a grace for me. And so I go a couple of miles at least in the mornings, most mornings, unless it's very cold and very wet. Otherwise, I go ahead and go out and get wet. But, and then I've made it a habit lately. The sun goes down here at usually before 4 lately, though it's going to start moving to 4 and 4:15 later. Uh-oh, I've got to take a phone call. You guys, you all, depends on where you're from as to whether or not I can say you guys or you all. You are so patient with me. It's so funny because almost always when I am trying to do a podcast, that is the moment in which my children will all call me. So anyway, thank you for your patience. I had a nice talk with Sarah, and then I had a nice talk with Keely and Nathan. They both called at different times. So here we go again. Okay, I was going to tell you about Oxford and what I love about it, and I don't know if you're interested in this at all or not, but picture with me, if you will, that everywhere I go, I am walking on a cobbled street. Old streets. My area is an old area. There are beautiful old buildings and churches. And if you like those kinds of things, it's really fun here. There are bookstores, there are cafes, there are parks and trees. You know, for me, because I think I said I was ADD earlier. Don't know if I said it to you or someone else. But walking for me is a settling thing. I have next to my house, just less than a quarter of a mile. It's actually closer to my house, but I have to walk around apartment buildings to get to it, is the canals. And the canal boats go up and down all of England. And it's just so much fun. I literally walk down the street over a bridge, and then I can walk for miles and miles and miles. And there's the boats, and there's swans. And today the swans were preening tonight when I went on. So what I was going to tell you is that I go over my 2 miles in the morning, and then I come home and I work, or meet with someone or do whatever it is I'm doing. And then, right as it starts getting dark at night, not quite dark at around, I think I was telling you this when the phone rang, at around 4 o'clock, I have this little mile that I go. I'm trying to get up to 4 or 5 miles a day by the time I walk around the house and do things. Just because that's my standard, and also it helps my hip to stretch and to walk in the right way. So I walk over this little bridge, and I have charted out where I walk. And lately, because it's been the holidays, almost every single window has little fairy lights in it, and beautiful foliage, and lots of beautiful trees with the lights on them, the Christmas trees. And I have another park that I go to. It's called the Parks, and it has a lake, and it has beautiful birds, and it has leaves and flowers, and it's just so much fun. And then not too far from me, again, I have another walking place that is Christchurch Meadow, and it has cows, and it has also a kind of a river that goes through with lots of swans and birds, and it has the rowing teams that are from Oxford, and it also has the punters, the people who you can rent their boat, and they will, it's kind of like a gondola that they will use the long stick and push you in. Now, I don't do those touristy things very often, but I pass them when I'm walking along by the cows and by Christchurch College. And anyway, it's just really a fun place for me to be able to, in the midst of a very stressful day, to walk and to pray and to dream and to enjoy. I just am really in the midst of enjoying lots of beauty. So, okay, so I always come to you and try to remember this every week anyway. I have a really, really fun food to tell you about this week. So take another sip of whatever you're drinking. In the UK and also in Scotland, in England and in Scotland, where my Joy and Joel have lived, the smoked salmon is really a big deal. It's a popular thing. And they even have Scottish smoked salmon. Anyway, I'm not saying the accent right. I've never gotten a Scottish accent down. But the other night we had it actually on our game night. We had a game night here after after Christmas Day, we had a New Year's Eve party just for my family. But last week when Sarah and Thomas and the kids and everybody was here, we all brought these heavy hors d'oeuvres for dinner that night. And I'm going to tell you this because I've done it 2 more times since then. And I'm becoming a smoked salmon girl. And smoked salmon here oftentimes will be eggs Benedict with smoked salmon instead of ham, or it will be a salmon bagel. But what we did that's absolutely delicious, you have to get some round crackers. I mean, the round salty ones, like kind of like I don't know, wheat cracker or just big round saltines. And then you mix together to your taste, either cream cheese or some rendition thereof, something like cream cheese, and you put lemon juice in it and a tiny bit of mayonnaise, and you stir it around, and then you put your cracker and then your smoked salmon, and then you put a dollop of this wonderful cream cheese, mayonnaise, lemon, mayo on top of the cracker and spread it around. And you would just think that you had created such an amazingly wonderful, brilliant, as they say here a lot, oh, it's brilliant, hors d'oeuvre. So that's my easy thing for you all to do this week. And then I wanted to tell you too about the fact that that what we had on New Year's Eve. It was so much fun. I said to Joel, Joel, you cook tonight because I've been cooking a lot. And Joel's a really good cook. Actually, both of our boys are cooks as well as our girls. And Joel was born in Vienna, Austria. Is it any surprise that he's a musician? And so he has this, one of his specialties. He's got several specialties. And one of his specialties is chicken schnitzel. Schnitzel is a very thin piece of meat, a cutlet. In other words, you get these chicken breasts and you like just normal fat chicken breasts, boneless, and you can slice them in two, but then you get a meat hammer and you pound this chicken out to be very thin. So it's thinner than normal. And then you dip it in egg. And then from the egg, you go straight to the breadcrumbs. And I don't remember what kind of breadcrumbs he got, but they're kind of orangey looking. And in the breadcrumbs, you have a bit of salt. And one of the key things is nutmeg. And then you chop up parsley, just little bits here and there, and put it also in the wheat mixture or in the crumb mixture. So it's egg, and then you dip it in this crumbs, parsley, nutmeg, salt mixture. And then you saute it in vegetable oil. And then when you serve it on a plate, you should look this up online if you want a real recipe. You squeeze lemon juice on it. Clay and I, when we were living in Austria as a young couple, would go and they would pound these meat, and sometimes it was pork, and sometimes it was veal, and sometimes it was chicken. Clay was always a chicken guy. But they pound this meat so nice and thin with a crusty fried crust on it. And sometimes it would be as big as the plate. And it was so much fun. So we had that, and they have Austrian, these special Austrian noodles called Spätzle. But we didn't have any here, so we just did some fresh noodles that we got in the refrigerator section and boiled them up and put a little bit of salt and olive oil and butter. And so we had our chicken schnitzel and our wonderful noodles and a couple of other things. But anyway, those were the most special things that we had. And so I thought maybe you would want to know that I'm eating well. And someday I'll tell you the secret to me, to my own healthy diet, because I really do stay healthy, except for all the holidays, all the weekends, all the tea times. Anyway, you know what I mean. But I wanted to tell you about a little bit of a little bit of music. Clay got me some earbuds for my birthday last August, and I'm just now learning how to remember to take them. That's my biggest problem. I forget to take them. So I can take them on my walks. I've listened to so many books, audiobooks, and probably 20 audiobooks this year. But also, I listen to music all the time, as many of you know from the Life Giving Home. And so because Joel had so many people respond to his Christmas album this year, he and I were talking the other day, and I think maybe it's possible that those of you who love the instrumental music, I like instrumental music during the day because if I'm teaching, reading, doing something that requires thought, I don't want to have words in the music. And so Joel did create an album years ago called Music for the Life-Giving Home. And it's beautiful instrumental music that you can listen to. It's soft. It sets the mood for learning, for your home, for enjoying life, for dinners. And so you can find that wherever you find Joel Clarkson on Spotify or on Amazon or wherever you listen to music. So I thought I would tell you just a little bit about that. Now, the next thing I wanted to tell you before I leave you and go have probably going to make my family eat cereal tonight because I've had so many phone calls. But anyway, I wanted to read just a little bit of something to you. I've probably had more people who have talked to me about my book, Help I'm Drowning, than ever before. It's been really kind of an amazing thing. And so I wanted to read this to you right now because there's a chapter that I'm going to have to look at here in order to get it. But what I really wanted to have happen, and what happened to my book recently, was that Amazon didn't have it listed as a book. So if you tried to buy it sometime in the past few weeks, I've been getting all sorts of letters from people who said, I can't buy your book. It's because Amazon didn't have it listed in the proper way. And so I finally, my wonderful publishers have it backlisted again. So, but I'm going to read to you part of chapter 12. It's the last chapter. Leaving a legacy begins with a foundation. Because I've kind of been thinking about so many people going through difficult and dark times right now, or just weary times. Aren't many people weary at this time of year? And then also, our families are not perfect, are they? My family goes through great times, and then we go through dramatic times where someone has an issue or a doubt, or they're dating someone, or they have a financial issue, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Or just some kind of a criticism of one another or Clay and me. We go through these stages, and Clay and I have learned to go through stages with our children and to love them and bear with them and ask them to love and bear with us. But anyway, I thought, if you're like me, you regularly are going through storms of some kind or another. There's a death. There's there's all sorts of issues that you can go through. And so I thought maybe if this might be a good time of year for me just to read to you a little bit about one of the stories in my book that might help encourage you, because what I've realized is that I can be down, I can be fearful, I can think nothing's going to work out, and oftentimes I'll think, and I'm going to quit, whether it's quit ministry or quit whatever, quit trying. But I've done this, I've gone through so many seasons of this that I'm familiar with it. And I can get back in the saddle, I'm getting back on my horse, because I have seen God's faithfulness. When David says, I have been young and now I am old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken or their seed begging for bread. And I think it's important to note that David never says, I've never been through a hard time, because of course he has. But as I look back in my life, in this very broken world, disappointing world sometimes, more challenging than you thought it was going to be, I can see that God was holding me even when I didn't feel held. I can see that God was deepening me, strengthening me, loving me, And so I wanted to read part of this last chapter so that some of you can get a taste. People have been asking me what's in the book, and other people have said it's my favorite book so far. I think that this book, Different and Dancing with My Father, have a lot more real difficulties from my life. It's not just the Pollyanna side, and I try not to just be the Pollyanna side, but I also do try to be a light giver and a person who hopes and sees God's fingerprints in everything. So it's a balance. But anyway, this is chapter 12. Leaving a legacy begins with a foundation. And in Isaiah 41:10, this is such a very important verse to me. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not anxiously look about you, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Surely I will help you. Surely I will hold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10. And then I love Vincent van Gogh, as you know, he was an artist and he had a very troubling life, but he said, there is peace even in the storm. Monday morning, I slipped down the stairs of our little home away from home in Oxford. I put on the kettle as usual. The sun was not yet up, so I lit my dark little room with candles, turned on some soft music, and sat in the gentle quietness of my moment alone to enter the day with grace. It's what I do every day, because every day I need to give myself some grace. My phone buzzed with a message from my daughter. Mama, have you seen the news about Shelley? Look in your inbox. I am so sorry, Mama. I love you, Mama. Wish I could be with you. With trepidation, I opened my email and found this from Shelley's husband, my friend Shelley's husband. It is with a heavy heart that I share with you news about Shelley. As most all of you are aware, earlier this year, she was diagnosed with a sarcoma tumor. The tumor was removed in May, but the cancer quickly returned aggressively and spread rapidly. Late Sunday night, All Saints' Day, Shelley died in hospice after developing a vascular bleed related to the cancer. I was able to be with her in her final moments as we talked and prayed together. I was reminded in those last minutes together of the passage from Psalm 116:15. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. As we talked, cried, and prayed together, we rejoiced that she was soon to be in the presence of the Lord. Shelley never feared death, but she did not want to have to go through a long period of suffering. And as we talked last night, we both felt it was God's kindness and grace that she went so quickly and very little pain. From the moment I started reading, a sadness began to swell in my heart deep down. Tears came to my eyes. My sweet friend Shelley was gone. I carried the grief as a weight on my shoulders during the days that followed. I knew that it was going to happen. Her death did not take me by surprise, as I had lived through so many deaths through so many years before. The grief was more like a familiar companion, a heaviness I had personally become acquainted with through many sad times. No more was I surprised by deaths, cancers, brain tumors, car wrecks, suicides. They were never easy, but at some point I had moved beyond the surprise of death to a peaceful acquiescence. Death is the closing of the last chapter in the story of our lives on earth, but we will have more story to live with him. In this world, I would miss the ability to take the train to Shelley's London flat, to be greeted with her warm smile, hello, to continue our long companionship over endless cups of tea, to know the deep fellowship that grows with one who is truly kindred. Our life values and soul treasures were so akin, and we understood one another without having to explain ourselves. She understood so many ideals of my life that others had not lived, especially when it came to living overseas, living for the kingdom, living to give his love to others. We both understood this deeply about one another. Yet even more, Shelley was a friend of delight. From the first time we met, she brought sunshine with her presence. She had come to see me in Oxford, and that is where our friendship originally began. She had reached out to me, which is not typical in my experience. She had brought beauty, kindness, and gentleness in a time I needed it. Her friendship was truly like a kiss from God. As the days after her death passed, I found myself coming to a place of thanksgiving beyond the sorrow that I had carried. Thank you, God, that I had the privilege of knowing Shelley. Thank you that you gave me a friend who was total grace. Thank you that her fragrance of joy in life was allowed me, even if for a shorter while than I wanted. Sometimes you meet someone unexpectedly who is living the way you hope your life will play out, one who calls you to your best self. Her legacy of love for God, for her family, for her friends was infectious. She made me want to be better, love God more, be more generous. Her life reminds me that all of us can become that kind of person if we choose to travel the path of our lives intentionally, purposefully considering how we want to walk. And in this process of walking with God through all of our days, I remember once again how God has gently, lovingly shepherded me through my whole life, through each life storm. God has walked my path with me that I might learn what is of real value, what is true in a fallen world, where my hope is, that His mercy, grace, love, and sympathy are real. Because He cares so much, God has helped me to open my clenched fist and let go of the things I was holding on to so tightly that would never have brought me eternal treasure anyway. He has replaced those idols with true gifts that have served to bring me deep satisfaction. I didn't know how much I needed to grow. I didn't know how much I needed to understand. He has shaped me through humility that I might depend on Him and not myself, with a longing for His kingdom rule which is surely coming, with a deeper compassion and love for fellow travelers who are yet to understand His abiding love and affection, that I might very gently show them His love. In short, through the many years, the many circumstances, the many pathways of darkness, God has become my treasure, my hope, my wisdom. But these treasures were strewn through the pathways of my storms. And so, my friends, I'm going to leave you to read the rest of the chapter, the rest of the book, but this is just a little tiny portion of Help, I'm Drowning. And the reason I wanted to read it to you today is I wanted each of you to know that whatever you're going through, you are not alone. There are many, many pilgrims like my friend Shelley who have gone before you, who understand. I feel like God has given me many, many seasons that I could really deeply look at eternity from a different point of view and understand this old world better so that I might not fall or be quite as tempted to be discouraged because of knowing Him, purposes, life together. But yet He's been faithful and very patient with me as I stumbled, as I cried, as I shook my fist at heaven and asked my own questions. So I just wanted to leave that with you on Tea Time Tuesday. It's kind of what I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I just was hoping that that might encourage some of you where you are. And I just wanted to close in prayer. Thank you, Lord, for these precious, precious ones who are listening to this today. Thank you for my precious friend Shelley, who I wasn't even looking for. I didn't even expect to be there for me, and yet she was a gift from you for the time that I knew her. She was thoughtful and she was full of your life, and she cared deeply about loving people well. Lord, thank you for the ways I learned, and not only that, but just how she filled me up. I pray that you would help my friends to be those kind of people, the kind that can show compassion, that can fill others up, that can walk in the peace of Christ, even finding treasures amidst the storms. But comfort these your people, Lord, and thank you that you never leave us or forsake us, that your love endures forever, and that you are with us today. We love you so very much, Lord, and we thank you that you are with us, that you are a compassionate Father and patient, and that we have an eternity with you in all of your glory and creativity and beauty and love. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. Well, my friends, thank you for your patience through my phone calls. I hope that you've had a nice cup of tea or coffee, and I will see you again next Tuesday for Tea Time Tuesday. Bye-bye. I hope you've enjoyed our time together today and that you'll join me next week. Be sure to look for more inspiration on my blog at sallyclarkson.com. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.